This is a Cameroon Journal editorial with the subject, Donald Trump's message to the Southern Cameroonians. Again, the subject is Donald Trump's message to Southern Cameroonians. If Paul Biya of La République du Cameroon had known what manner of speech U.S. President Donald Trump had prepared to deliver at the UN General Assembly last Tuesday, he would perhaps have taken it for an excuse to stay away from the reprimanding speech that someone has described as enough cancer in one day for reprobate leaders like Paul Biya. This speech was very unnerving, particularly to Biya. The president of Cameroon is not used to sitting down to be lectured on good governance, respect of his people, and respect for their human rights. Unfortunately, he had to endure it for all of the almost 60 minutes that Trump released the assault. As he sat there in the pew with his interpreter's piece tightly glued to his ears listening to Trump's prologue, he thought initially that Trump's invectives were all but directed to North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, and Cuba. Biya was mistaken. Some reporters who had accreditation and were present in the hall have said the body language on the face of Biya and his entourage sitting directly behind him quickly changed as Trump began making references to regimes that shoot, arrest, torture, and jail their citizens. But even worse, or most arresting, to the Cameroon delegation was Trump's mention of rogue regimes like Biya's that threaten their own people, insisting that such people must be allowed to take ownership of their own future. Leaders, Trump said, are not elected to take power, but to give power to the people where it belongs. But even more direct and possibly stinky in Biya's ears was the mention of regimes that tear down the internet, tear down satellite TV dishes, shoot unarmed student protesters, and send political reformers to jail. There has been a great deal of debate out there since as to who Trump was speaking particularly to. Most Cameroonians have said he was directing his speech, at least the part on the shutdown of internet and the teardown of TV dishes, to the Cameroonian leader. Others have been quick to suggest that he was talking to Iran. But whoever was in Trump's mind, does it really matter? You walk into a Sunday morning church service, and the pastor is delivering his sermon, and before you know, he begins to talk about your incessant infidelity to your spouse. At that moment, do you really need someone to whisper to your ear that the pastor is actually speaking to you or talking about you or talking to you? The instinct strikes you, and you know instantly the message is for you. Trump may not have mentioned Biya's name as he did with Kim the rocket lover in North Korea or in the case of Venezuela. But Cameroonians, at least Southern Cameroonians, who are conscious of the struggle back home, knew the message was aimed at Biya. And they are right. Anyone could tell from the looks on his face that Biya knew the message was for him. In fact, his delegation, sitting right behind him, some of them including Paul Atanganji, could be seen burying their heads into their necks in total bewilderment and unbelief at what Trump was saying about their rogue government, especially after Trump reminded them, rather very forcefully, that their regimes cannot last forever. But things got worse than this the next day. As a host president, President Trump had on Wednesday invited all African leaders and their foreign ministers for a discussion over lunch. President Biya was deliberately left out, uninvited to the lunch, an indication that Trump is very much aware of the sins of Paul Biya against the southern Cameroonians and sought to send him a silent message that way by not inviting him. But we cannot or should not in the euphoria forget what we consider was the direct take-home message for southern Cameroonians from President Trump. Trump's message wasn't only directed at Paul Biya or to Paul Biya and his regime. Trump equally spoke very directly to the oppressed people of the southern Cameroons. Here is what he said, and I quote, "If the righteous men do not confront the wicked few, then evil will triumph. When decent people in the nation become bystanders in the nation, the forces of destruction only gather power and strength." End of quote. At the Cameroon Journal, we believe this is a take-home message for every southern Cameroonian from Donald Trump. Trump is saying to all of us, nobody will sit with us on table and give us back our territory, our southern Cameroons. We have to take it. He was saying that if we relent, if we cave in, if we give up this fight, a few wicked people in Paul Biya and the clique that sat behind him will only keep on gathering power and strength to continue to suppress all of us. In this Cameroon crisis, southern Cameroonians and all lovers of freedom are the righteous and decent ones that Trump was referring to. The forces of destruction are those cheering up the regime in La République du Cameroon to keep on resisting our demands, even in the face of death and destruction of property. The forces of destruction are the ones sending motions of support to Paul Biya, even when he sits still and watches the nation crumble. The forces of destruction are those parents in the southern Cameroons who have their children still going to school in the territory. They are those head teachers and school principals who have their schools still open. They are the common law lawyers amongst us who are desperately in want of getting back to the courtroom even when their demands remain shun. They are the shop owners who continue to resist ghost towns. They are the army, the police, the BRR, and the gendarmes occupying our territory. We owe our freedom a duty, like Donald Trump has said, not to allow these forces of destruction to triumph over our collective resolve to free ourselves and free generations yet unborn. That means in every county in the southern Cameroons, we are urging all the young people to rise up and constitute themselves into a force to defend your hometown or your village from the aggressors. No taxes should henceforth be paid to a regime in which we have no representation. Every county in the southern Cameroons must work to free and defend itself right now. Any school that opens its doors to the public must be hurriedly shut down by all possible means. Sacred Heart College was a very good example. Nobody should take instructions from colonial governors in Bamenda and Boya, and of course, all the colonial SDOs and DOs in our territory. Our parliamentarians who have refused to leave Yaoundé as Ndele and others left Enugu should be given an ultimatum up to October 1st, failing which our defense forces should start treating them as enemies in the house. Momentum is on our side now, more than ever before, and we must make maximum capital out of it. See you all in New York. Again, this came to you from the Cameroon Journal. You can read the script of this editorial later on our website at CameroonJournal.com. And you can reach us at editor editor@cameroonjournal.com. Again, the email address is editor@cameroonjournal.com. I am Chris Anu, and thanks for listening today.